I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Guys, what is up? Welcome back. Oops, the podcast. We are back. We are doing it. Lynch narrowly survived the TikTok shutdown. He was literally standing on the ledge of his roof, and he got a push notification that it was back.
Yeah.
We're happy to still have you with us, Lynch.
Thank you. The bottom of my sneaker got so close to the tip, but the piece inside of me that wanted to stay was holding on with so much force that little speckles of concrete were tumbling over, landing onto the tops of heads of people that decided to live.
And you watched them like...
And I watched like them, you know, how they just sift down and get smaller and smaller. And then I got it doink, in my back pocket. TikTok's here.
Huge.
As am I.
The rocks were falling like the Joker, tumbling out of the window of the building.
Yeah. But now you're back.
I'm back.
I've been gone for a minute.
I've been gone for a minute. First and foremost, I want to start the episode by saying two things. Number one, if you had tickets to see me in Fort Wayne, Indiana, the shows have been canceled because Rob Schneider has bumped me.
Rob Schneider.
You can do it. So anyway, all good. You know, I'm sure he's going to sell a ton of tickets, so no harm, no foul. I think they're going to give you an option to transfer your tickets if to whatever date they end up giving me. So, you know, if you had tickets to that show, just hit me up if you're having trouble redeeming or figuring out like how to get the new show set up or whatever. Usually these places are good about it, but sometimes they're not. Number two, I badly need a hookup at the Italian embassy in New York, the Italian consulate. If anybody has a connection there, please let me know. I'm currently on the fence of having my citizenship completed. Dude, I have every single thing finished. I know you guys want to hear about my honeymoon. I'm going to tell you about that in a sec. And dude, I'm not kidding you when I say there are like dozens of things you need to submit. You need to submit, and I know we talked about this to some degree before, but like it's crazy actually. A certified copy of my mother's naturalization form. And so certified copy, you need to get it notarized. You then need to get it certified, and you then need to get it apostilled.
What is apostilled?
None of it really. It's like different forms of certification.
Okay.
It's basically just designed to make not every single person who has the legal right to get a citizenship do it. That has to be what it is. It's such a pain in the ass. Only the strong will prevail. So you need to do that for the naturalization. You need to do that for the application form, which there's no link to it online. So good luck finding this application form that doesn't exist. I was able to get it, but like nightmare.
How'd you get it?
Shout out Italy Mondo for helping me out. So they gave me the application form, and then there's form 1, form 2, form 3. All need to be notarized, certified, apostilled. My mom has to sign form number 2. And so it needs to be notarized with her physically there. She doesn't live here, so she had to come down to do it. The notary then did it wrong. So the certification place is on Center Street, which is in City Hall. I had this done in Harlem because my dad teaches at Columbia. So I then had to go back to Harlem to have the notary fix the notarization. He also he's like, yo, you need an affidavit, bro. I'm like, I need an affidavit. So now I'm making affidavits on the spot. So, and this is the literal tip of the iceberg. I had to get my dad's long form birth certificate, my mom's long form birth certificate, my long form birth certificate, my long form marriage certificate, my parents' long form marriage certificate. They all need to be translated into Italian.
How does that, is that a service that you have to pay for or get done?
Like, yeah, Italy Mondo, but you can also do it a la carte, which I've done in the past. And so then there's all these discrepancies. So I sent all that stuff in, proof of residency, proof of my utility bills, proof of my parents' residency, like, dude, an insane amount of things. Like you sent a packet like this big. So if this isn't already giving you a headache, I got an appointment somehow because I am a direct descendant of an Italian immigrant. That is a separate line. There's another line for people who's like grandfather. It's like 10,000 people long, that line. So good luck getting an appointment. I happened to get an appointment and I knew my application was incomplete. So I sent it, but we knew that they would just be like, okay, it's incomplete. You need to do X, Y, Z. So I was able to do all those things that they needed me to do, including my dad. So I'm applying through my mom. Okay. So whatever my dad is doing shouldn't matter, right? In theory, I'm applying through my mom. For whatever reason, they're like, you need to still do it. So my dad just had an identity crisis growing up. His name is Giuliano. He started going by Giulio. Then he started going by Giulio M. Then he started going by Julio. He started spelling his name Julio for some reason that he doesn't even fully remember. Maybe because it was easier, maybe whatever. The same way that I deal with it. Maybe he just gave up, started spelling it Julio. So there's all these discrepancies on all the different official documents. His birth certificate says Giuliano. His naturalization says Giuliano M. My birth certificate says Giulio M. For him. I'm Giulio C. Giulio M. And then my marriage certificate, I made sure to do it right. So anyway, I had to amend his marriage certificate, which isn't this crazy?
I'm just the sequence of just, I think maybe 30 things that you've done so far that you're sharing. Keep going. It's just
right?
crazy.
Just absolutely crazy. Then, so in order to do this also, my mom's marriage needs to be registered in Italy. She needs to be registered in this online database called AIR. Okay, I've been trying to register her for it since 2020. I had tried 3 times and it got rejected every single time, and I did it right for sure the last 2 times. So Italy Mondo, thanks again. They figure out, they're like, all right, you need to do this, you need to do that, or whatever. So we finally get her accepted into AIR. This was like a massive victory. This just happened a couple months ago. So my appointment's in November. Once they sent back the things that I had wrong, I technically have 6 months to get it all together. So whatever things I didn't have, whatever I didn't have notarized, whatever I didn't have this, that, I included a cover letter to sort of explain things that need to be explained. And I sent it all back. I was able to amend my dad's name on my birth certificate. Then and also my grandmother's name. So I amended all that stuff. Great. I then needed to amend my dad's name on my birth certificate. So instead of Giulio M, it should say Giuliano Gallerati. My mom's stuff is all good. I'm applying through my mom. I don't understand why it matters. My dad's name could be Spider-Man and it shouldn't matter. Lynch. So anyway, it gets rejected. I also have to download this thing from the records, the Department of Health records, which basically shows the paperwork that my dad filled out for his naturalization. Because we were hoping that there was a chance that maybe he signed it Giulio M, or maybe he signed it Giuliano and there was a mistake on the whatever. If I just need more stuff that said Giuliano on it. But for now, I only had his birth certificate. So I send to the Department of Health the amendment, they reject it. The people who were helping me, they were like, okay, look, sometimes these get rejected for some reason, just send a letter to the consulate explaining that you got rejected, explain that you submitted it properly, include the copies of his naturalization form that he filled out, the naturalization form itself, his passport, and the form explaining why it was denied. And just explain to them that you tried, you submitted it right, and they're still giving you no hard time, and it should be fine. I go, okay, great.
They don't give you any reason why it got rejected. They just say rejected.
So I logged on to the chat bot thing for the Department of Health, and I asked them why. And they said, because usually it's only a letter or 2, and this is more, so it's rejected. I'm like, but I provided the thing that legally allows me to make the change. How am I not allowed to change it? And they're like, sorry, does his naturalization say it on it? Can you send that? I'm like, no, his naturalization says Giuliano M or whatever it says. But no, it doesn't. So they're like, okay, sorry. You should make an appointment to come in person. To come in person or whatever. I had already sort of followed up about it. So anyway, I don't think they realized that I'd already gotten rejected. So I make the appointment in person because, I'll explain that in a second. So anyway, I get an email from the consulate. You want to hear what it says?
Yes. God, dude,
isn't this brutal?
This is giving me an anxiety
Isn't this
attack.
brutal? So I'm so close, right? I send all my stuff in. I'm just praying that I didn't mess anything up because the amount of times they're like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I'm finally think I'm done with all that, right? Super stoked about it. And this is the message that I got from the consulate.
You're naming documents and saying titles of job positions that I've never heard of before.
Bro, you think I'd heard any of this shit? I know.
Just because you've been going through it.
I know. Oh, by the way, dude, what about this one? I also didn't have my parents' long form birth certificates. Italy Mondo again. So you have to hit up. You have to hit up their comune in Italy to get the long form birth certificate. When my mom's birth certificate came back, they go, hey, on your mom's birth certificate, there's no parents listed on it. They're like, is this a thing that like you guys don't talk about? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, we've just never seen this before. Like having no parents on the, I'm like, do you think she was just dropped off by the stork? I'm like, what do you mean, dude? Like, I don't know. So anyway, it was a whole thing. But that ended up not mattering. But I get both of their long form birth certificates. Anyway, so this is the email that I get from the consulate of Italy.
Wait, before you read that, what is naturalization?
I don't even know. But basically it is when you become a citizen of America, you have a naturalization thing. I don't know if it refers to some specific thing where like you lived here a while, you had a thing, so you get it. It used to be way easier to become an American citizen. My dad naturalized in 1978. My mom naturalized in 1994. There's a cutoff like 1992 or 1991 where if your parent naturalized before then, you can't do the faster route that I'm doing. But fortunately, my mom did it after the cutoff, so it was theoretically is helpful for me.
Okay.
So anyway, this is the email I get from the consulate. Good morning. So anyway, basically I said to them, I'm like, hey, like I tried to do it right. They rejected it still after they had sent me a preliminary email. Actually, no, this is the email. They were like, oh, it's a bummer that, they didn't say it like that casually, but they're like, it's a bummer that they rejected it. Like, did you submit it correctly? Did you do this? So this is what I sent back. I tried to play hardball with them. I go, hello, thanks so much for your reply. I'm unsure why the request was rejected, but we did submit the amendment properly. I provided my father's long form birth certificate attached and his passport, which clearly show his name as Giuliano Gallerati. I also included the rejection notice. Although your guidelines require matching names on my birth certificate and the supporting documents, my request was denied, which seems to be a common issue with New York amendments, despite meeting all the requirements. That said, I hope this doesn't affect my legal right to Italian citizenship. I'm so excited and honored to make a deeper connection with my Italian heritage. Warmly, Giulio. Okay? So the way that they explained it to me, they're like, this is the type of thing that theoretically they might let slide sometime. They might let it slide. So send that email and see what they say back. I go, okay, great. This is what they say back. Good morning. Your birth certificate must be amended. Regardless of the line through which you are applying, since he was also born in Italy and he is known there as Giuliano. If your father did not officially change his name to Giulio, the certificate cannot be accepted and must be corrected. He must appear as Giuliano Gallerati on all certificates. There is no evidence anywhere in his documents that his name is Giulio M. Why did he give himself a middle name, by the way? So it is not acceptable from a vital records perspective that he appears as Giulio M on your birth certificate. Along with his Italian birth certificate, you must provide the U.S. authorities with the petition of name change and naturalization certificate for your father showing that the name was not changed to Giulio when he naturalized and remained Giuliano, not Giulio M, as it shows on your birth certificate. So this is what I have to do now. I need to, now, unless there's some other thing, I need to, which I don't think there is, I need to petition the Supreme Court of New York. It's called Article 78, which basically means that I am entitled to amend this document, despite the fact that the Department of Health has rejected it. The retainer for a lawyer to do this is $5,000. It can take a very long time. I technically have 6 months to finish my application. I handed it in November. Clock is ticking, right? But if you tell them that Article 78 proceedings have begun, you get to extend up to 2 years. So you have to do that. And then you have to make an appointment with the Department of Health Vital Records. And there are no appointments for the entire year of 2025. I guess some pop up sometimes. I got one on March 14th. And I was like, hey, I have to work March 14th. I was like, is there any other day in the year of 2025 that you have appointments? And they're like, no. I'm like, so you mean to tell me that for the entire year of 2025, there's not a single appointment for the entire year? How's anyone supposed to do? And they're like, I don't know the answer to that question, sir. I'm sorry. I'm like, so this is the problem. That this is the state that I'm currently in. The one tiny thing that is preventing me from getting my Italian passport is Giulio M on my birth certificate when I'm applying through my mom. So if anybody out there has some kind of connection at the New York consulate, this is the type of thing that they, with just a nudge from a friendly insider, will be fine and that they'll let slide. So I'm in the process of attempting to find those people. I posted on my story a couple times. I have one very tangentially, I would say there's a 10% chance that it comes to fruition, a person emailing on my behalf, allegedly. But it sucks, dude.
I can't even wrap my head around that. That sounds terrible.
And I've been trying to do this since 2020.
And what, did you call Big G and just ask him why?
He's like, I don't know. He's like, I just went by that. I don't know. Like, GIULIO's, I guess, kind of an abbreviation for Giuliano, I think. Yeah. And, you know, they're very technical, obviously, with this stuff. But, dude, it's driving me crazy. So, wait. So they said, what did she say in this email? She said, prove that he did not change his name to Giulio M when he naturalized. Is that what she said? Now I'm like, oh, did I miss something in this email? Anyway. That's all I got.
All right. We will clip this and make sure as many eyeballs see it as possible.
I'm wondering if there's a chance that would work against me somehow.
Well, like if the wrong people see it? No.
If the Italian consulate sees me, are they going to like hold it against me and make my life more difficult?
No, because you're speaking the truth. You're talking about your experience. You're not talking shit about them. You're just talking about how tough it is. And they're probably aware of it.
Yeah, okay, good
They
call.
know how it is.
Good call. Good call. That could be a good action. Good.
I feel horrible. I know you've talked about it a lot, but
Isn't it terrible?
when you reveal behind the curtain, that just sounds like a mess. And you're doing the best you can with that. I don't know if I've ever taken such commitment to an initiative like that.
Dude.
But it sucks because you want it. The only way you can do it is if you fight for yourself.
I know. So anyway, this is what I'm dealing with. And it blows.
Okay. I think we'll be able to get some help. Someone listening will be able to help.
Please, guys, please. Anyway, and dude, it's like if you can get another passport, you should get another passport. You just sort of never know. See how long I can hold that face for. You just never know when you might be able to use it. Like, who knows, dude? Like, and granted,
You mean when you might need to use it?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Things change. And I'm not saying I think America is going to go to shit. I actually very much do not think that. I predict that it will not. Knock on wood, because sometimes my predictions have been bad. But to have that flexibility, to not have to like be a refugee if some shit were to go down somewhere. If you can get another passport, you should get it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say shame on my parents, because like why would they think that I would ever need it? You know what I mean? So not shame on my parents. It would be ridiculous for me to be upset at them about it. But anyway, that's what I'm working on.
That's a mess.
I guess we can talk about the honeymoon. So dude, now that we live in sort of a freestanding apartment, we don't have a doorman. Like it's a little bit more hands-on, even though we rent. So like technically if something were to completely go awry, we have someone that we could call. Like I still feel the need to be more on top of stuff. So I've started thinking about things that I've never thought about. When's the last time you thought about air filters?
Not often.
Yeah,
in a minute.
It's a thing, and it's one of these things that you kind of are more likely to forget to change, that you really should. Like air quality, super important, especially living in a city. So anyway, if you're looking to optimize your filter game, look no further. Filter Easy is here. This podcast is sponsored by Filter Easy. It's 2025. When was the last time you changed your air filters, folks?
I already said I have no idea.
Exactly. Many homeowners don't remember, don't have time, can't find the right size filters. Filter Easy makes changing your air filters effortless. The Filter Easy subscription service delivers the right filters to your door when you need them. Finally, a subscription service that you can actually subscribe to happily. Filter Easy filters are proudly made with love in North Carolina, with millions of filters shipped. Filter Easy is the #1 home air filter subscription service in the US. I literally just got my new filters. I'm breathing good and feeling even better, Mr. Lynchy Pie.
That sounds great.
My Filter Easy filters arrived a couple days ago, and they are truly amazing. No more guessing sizes, running out of filters, or living with dirty air. You can be a dirty boy, but a dirty boy shouldn't breathe dirty air.
That's too dirty.
Mr. Lynch.
It's Double dirty.
Double dirty. The delivery is my reminder to change my filters, which is another amazing thing. I would not remember otherwise. And dude, it sounds silly, but these things are super cool. Filter Easy's filters snap into place when you open your box, and it's way stronger than the cardboard filters you buy at the store.
That's satisfying.
I've got enough to worry about. Filter Easy checks one thing off my list for good. I'll never forget to check my filters again. Filter Easy is famous for their sturdy and efficient magic filters. Magic filters are next level filters that last longer because they have 10% less pressure drop compared to ordinary cardboard edge filters that you buy in the store. That means improved airflow, lower energy bills, which we love, keeping your HVAC system running more efficiently. Want allergens, dust, and pet dander gone? Try Magic Filters from Filter Easy. It's so nice. The Filter Easy arrives, and it means that it's time to change the filters. They work great. It's easy to find the size and figure everything out. It's just really a home run, in my opinion.
Yeah, clean air is kind of sexy too. Like you're going to get a 10 on the sexy points if you're switching out your filters when your package arrives. So Filter Easy takes care of your air filters so you have time to take care of everything else. Head to filtereasy.com/oops and use code OOPS for 50% off your first order plus free shipping forever.
Hell yeah.
Once again, that's filtereasy.com/oops for 50% off your first order plus free shipping forever. And make sure you use our promo code OOPS so they know that we sent you. We'd appreciate that. Filter Easy.
I took 9 flights during my honeymoon. 9 flights. It's a lot of flights.
All this year.
Which is sick. As of today, I've taken 9 flights. I'm intending to take 7 more with my Alaska trip, including small planes, weather dependent, etc. But like, I could absolutely obliterate my record from last year, 51. So anyway, 9 flights. So I tried to just like use the flights the best that I could. Basically, there's Wi-Fi on all the domestic flights. I flew on LATAM, which is a pretty solid airline. I got to be honest. Like
LATAM.
It's a Delta partner. It's the Chilean national airline. Our flight was not delayed a single time. People were very nice. The one gripe I do have with LATAM is the app is pretty bad. And it like, you can't buy bags on the app. And for whatever reason, when they booked all our travel for us, we didn't add bags to it. I don't know if that's something that we did by accident or if they told us you got to add your bags and we forgot to. But then we could only buy them in person at the airport. And nobody like really understood what it was like a little bit of a language barrier when I was like, we want to pay for luggage for all of our flights. They're like, oh, okay. They just thought it meant for that particular leg. So we ended up like, it was kind of annoying, but other than that, amazing. And Wi-Fi. So I tried to just like hammer a bunch of the shit on the flights so that I felt like I was getting some stuff done.
Yeah.
But I tried not to work.
Nice. I guess, yeah, let's start from leaving the apartment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What was the vibe? You're leaving home. You're leaving for a couple weeks. How are you feeling going into the honeymoon?
I was excited, man. I've gotten pretty good at not drowning too much in anticipation for anything. So like if I have something exciting coming up in the future, I tend to have a bunch of other exciting stuff happening before that. Thank God. Like I'm really grateful that I have such a dynamic life. So I wasn't sitting there like, ooh, my honeymoon. Like I wasn't like sitting there getting excited about it. I was just like trying to like execute and like feel as good as I could leaving for my honeymoon, especially since, you know, this is the longest vacation I've ever taken. When I was a kid, we go to Italy for 3 weeks, but like that was the classic immigrant. Oh, you go home for the summer and you like sleep in your grandparents' house and you like hang around. It's not vacation per se. I mean, longest vacation and longest adult trip that I've ever gone on besides one. When I went to Jordan when I was like 25, I stayed out there for like a month and a half basically. But since then I have not gone away for longer than like 10 days, even like Iraq, Afghanistan, like this is the longest trip. I was gone from January 3rd to January 19th. And I think actually we arrived on the 20th, so January 3rd to January 20th. Left the apartment, head to the airport, overnight flight in either direction. So it's funny, when you fly overnight south, there are interesting advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is you don't change time zones significantly. Chile time is 2 hours ahead currently. I don't know if that changes based on daylight savings time. So that's really you don't need any adjustment at all basically for that. But when you fly back for some reason, even though you're making up 2 hours, they only have direct overnight flights on LATAM. So you're flying overnight in both directions, where when you fly back from Europe, you don't fly overnight.
Usually land around like 8 in the morning. Oh, no.
No. You you make up, 6 hours. So you take off at 2 p.m. and you land at 4:30. And then you kind of, as long as you can stay up till the end of the day, you're back.
Mm-hmm.
But to have to take 2 10-hour red eyes was a little intimidating, to be honest. But all good. Flight was smooth. We did not fly first class. I know a lot of people really insist on flying first class for their honeymoon. I fucked up there. So this is, a specific thing, but something worth thinking about. So we flew on LATAM. I booked it through Delta. I figure, I have status on Delta. Even though there are some reciprocal benefits, I wouldn't have to pay for a bag at all this way. Get to check my 2 free bags, whatever. But because the flight was operated by LATAM, I couldn't make any changes to the flights whatsoever. Because, I guess I kind of could through Delta, but I would have had to, you can bid on first class typically when you're 45 days until your flight. But because I booked through Delta, I didn't have access to that. And to upgrade to first class on Delta was insanely expensive. So I'm we're basically screwed. At one point they changed one leg of our flight. So theoretically we could have canceled and rebooked, but it was such a pain in the ass. And I didn't care about first class. Mm-hmm. So I said to Hilda, I'm if you care about this, you can do it. But otherwise, let's just keep it as is. So we just ended up keeping it as is. And to me, it's flying first class, dude. It's $10,000 for 2 tickets. You know what I mean? It's crazy. That could literally be an entire honeymoon. I'd rather do sick shit on my honeymoon and be slightly uncomfortable for a couple hours.
Yeah. How was the flight then?
Fine.
10 hours.
It's fine. It's 10 hours is long, but it's not bad. It's tough when you have that pressure to sleep. I browned out for a bit and I actually fell asleep so well on the flight back that there was really bad turbulence that woke me up and I didn't even care because I was so sleepy. I was so it wasn't too bad. We arrive in Santiago and we then have, this is the first great highlight of the trip. Our initial plan was we arrive at 7:30 and then we have a 10 a.m. departure to Calama, which is in the Atacama Desert in northern Chile. It is the driest place in the world. It is considered the best place to stargaze in the world. And it's super, super cool. A lot of there's flamingos up there that sort of hang out in these salt baths. It looks like Mars. There's this part of it that's literally called Valley of the Moon where I think they actually practice for the moon landing.
What is it called again?
The Atacama Desert. And the altitude, it's a high altitude, like I said. So it's you're sitting pretty at 10,000 feet most of the time. So it's an adjustment, whatever.
Wow.
So it was super cool. Stayed at a sick hotel, had a great time. And our flight got canceled and they changed it to 1 p.m. So now we're arriving at 7:30 a.m. We're not going to have slept well on the flight, obviously. And even if we did, it's impossible to sleep well on a flight if you're not in first class. So we now have a kind of a preposterous amount of time to kill before our next flight. Mm-hmm. And Delta told us 75 times that our bags were going to be checked through to our final destination, and they weren't. And Hillary sort of had an intuitive hunch that would be the case. And thank God we checked because our bags were just sitting on the floor in the middle of the airport and it was fine. But if we hadn't checked, it would have been shitty for us. So anyway, we now have 6 hours to kill. And yeah, we have lounge access, but there's no lounges that you can sleep properly in, or at least that we know of at the time. So we're sort of what the fuck do we do? There is a Holiday Inn Express inside of the terminal. Now, there's Marriott stuff right on the perimeter, and I had points. I theoretically could have booked it for free. But you have to leave the airport, which felt intimidating when you have this narrow window of time, especially because you have to recheck your bags, blah, 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 blah. So
and you're going to sleep.
And we want to go to sleep, yes. So there's one hotel within the terminal. It's the Holiday Inn. We go in. We're do you have anything available? And I looked online, and it was $400 for a room. I'm it's probably going to be too expensive, but let's just try. We go in. They are able to give us a day rate for $140. Best $140 I've ever spent in my entire life.
It's you made money.
Dude, we were so ecstatic to be in there. We knocked out for 2 hours, woke up feeling loopy, whatever. Went back into the terminal, which is directly across the street, and took off on our flight to Calama. Arrive in the afternoon. And then, dude, as we're like walking down the path, some guy walks by us and he goes, just getting in. And we're like, yeah. He goes, you're in for a treat. Just like a random guy who's at the hotel. And it was amazing. We stayed there. We stayed there for 3 nights. I wrote down a couple of little details, so maybe if I forget anything.
Are there lots of places where the desert just meets the ocean besides this desert?
This desert does not meet the ocean.
Okay, kind of looked.
No. Actually, I'll tell you, there is one specific one that's famous, and it may be one of the only ones. In Namibia. The desert full on meets the ocean.
But isn't the Atacama Desert, is this going all the way to here?
So potentially, but I don't know if like at that point, if it's like a different terrain.
It's deserty.
It may be a good point. I'm not totally sure. Like, I think maybe what I mean by Namibia is there's like a beach. We were not near the ocean.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay. So
yeah, we were in
doesn't
San
even matter.
Pedro, which is a little more inland.
It gets beachy. So
Yeah.
it
So,
gets beachy.
yeah, it gets beachy, whatever, at some point. But so we weren't doing any of that on this part of the trip. So it was mostly kind of like hiking, like a combination of cool, adventurous hiking activities that you can kind of pick your poison for how extreme you want to be. Some you have to wake up at 5 a.m. for other a couple hours, and just like a normal hike in LA or something, or even easier. So we did a combination of those two things. We met a couple of people from Brazil who were super cool. First of all, there was like, we were in the desert in the middle of the day, and there was one moment where it was so silent that I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how silent it was in the desert. It was crazy.
I feel like you lost your sense of
Yes.
hearing.
It felt like a sensory deprivation tank.
Did someone tell you to be prepared for that, or did you and Hillary
No.
just look at each other like, whoa?
I think like I maybe noticed it first, and then we like acknowledge how crazy it was. This place that we stayed at has one of the only, if not the only, sort of like observatory for astronomy. And we had kind of a clear night, and they have this sick telescope. And this dude who kind of played this music and was like all excited about space and was like, "It's amazing out there. Oh my!" And he would and then he would look through the telescope and be like, "Oh my God." You gotta see it, guys. Come. And I'm expecting, he's like, Saturn, the rings, you can see it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm expecting that I'm gonna be able to see like Saturn's rings like that.
Orbiting.
Like close up, dude, it was literally still a speck. But you could see a ring, which is cool. And there was like a triangle of like Jupiter's moons. Like, so there was some like cool stuff, but it was funny how enthusiastic this guy was about it. I was like, that is so funny. I'm like, this is so extra.
Did you see anything? Can you see Saturn from here?
So, dude,
Like, could you see it better there than you could have had here?
So, okay, I don't know if you can. My mom sort of knows about this stuff. I've never heard her mention Saturn. I don't know if the visibility is good enough to see all these planets. So on this thing that we were on, we could see Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury. I don't remember if he mentioned Venus, but like most of the stars, most of the planets. Then he was talking about how, I forget what the name of the star is. There's like a famous big star. It's called Betelgeuse, actually. It's a red dwarf, a red giant, whatever. So when stars start to age, they turn red. And this happens before they explode and turn into a giant black hole. You like that?
Don't know why, but yeah, that's just what happens, and we just accept that. That's what happens in this reality.
So
That's Beetlejuice.
Yeah. So the thing that's cool about it is if Betelgeuse were to have already exploded, we wouldn't know because it takes the light 400 years to get here. So it may have already exploded, but we just won't be able to see it until 400 years have passed. And I was like, I was talking to her, I'm like, isn't that sick? She's like, I don't care about it that much, no offense. I'm like, LOL, all right, whatever. So anyway, we have this great 3 nights in the desert, have the greatest time. And then we're supposed to go to wine country.
Can I ask one question
Sure.
before we move on?
Ask as many questions.
Okay. So you said that it looked like a speck when he was pointing to what planet?
Saturn was the first one where I noticed.
Was there any planet that you saw that you saw like a crater or anything?
Not even close.
Okay.
Not even close.
Okay. That'd be cool.
But it was sick how stoked this guy was about it. The food at this place that we stayed was unbelievable. It's called the hotel is called Nayara Alto Atacama, and Yeah, Nayara Alto Atacama. Shout out to Crossing Travel. It was the travel agent that helped us set it all up. But anyway, sick hotel, really, really cool. And we planned it out in a way where there was going to be like 3 main highlights and then like sort of sub highlights in between. So I wasn't expecting our next stop to be as sick as it was. Now, mind you, this is super serendipitous and cool. Bad Bunny dropped a new album on like January 5th or something. So literally it was almost like his honeymoon gift to me, dude. The plan was land in Santiago again and then rent a car and drive 2.5 hours to wine country where we were going to stay at this winery private residence thing. Cool. We were going to stay for 2 nights. We made a couple changes because the trip was just too long. We're like, we need to shorten it a bit. So we get in early in the morning and now we're driving to, actually no, we got in the afternoon and we're driving and listening to the Bad Bunny album for the first time. And we love driving around together. So it was so fun. We start to get this beautiful scenery and then we like ring the buzzer and they're like, hello. And I'm like, oh yeah, hi, we're checking in. And they're like, we've been waiting for you. I was like,
It's the start of a horror movie.
oh, yeah, right. So anyway, we get there. It is just absolutely gorgeous. Like big, green, dry, unbelievable mountains. This winery is called Close Apalta. They make an icon wine, which is like the highest level of wine or whatever. And basically like you have all the, like a pretty fancy dinner and they do a wine pairing and you get to try all this amazing wine. And we're not wine people, but we could appreciate how good all the wine was still. It was that good. If you're not an expert, like you can still appreciate the subtlety.
Stunning, dude.
Stunning. And dude, our hotel room at this place is the sickest hotel room I've ever been in by far. Now, the other hotel, the room was kind of small, but the property was incredible. And the room is still very nice. But dude, this room, it's like one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Oh my God, dude. So this was like somewhat of a little bit of a surprise, like how stunning this was?
Big time. Like I actually didn't look what anything looked like.
Nice.
I just assumed that I knew that I was booking the sick places. Hillary like signed off on them and I didn't know what to think.
Overwhelming.
Right?
I'm getting hard. It is the plots of grass. It looks fake.
I know.
So you guys spent 2 days there.
2 nights there.
Did you stay on that property? Just
Yes.
enjoy the hell out
So
of that?
we went and took a tour of the wine cellar, which is like, have you seen the movie The Platform?
Yeah.
It's like The Platform.
I think I
at
saw
this. There's
Oh my
8 levels
God.
down. Saw one of the biggest spiders I've ever seen in my life, by the way. A giant hairy spider. Which like, I think giant hairy spiders tend to not be a threat, which is another classic thing as a kid that you think is a threat that isn't, like quicksand, tarantulas.
some American propaganda.
But yeah, man. And there was also, so the other thing that was cool is like all of these destinations, a lot of them, there weren't a ton of young people on any of these trips or on any of these spots. And as we get further along in me explaining where we went, some of these places start to become pretty bucket listy. So you get kind of these old people who like have time and they want to go to all these places. So like, a lot of the time it's not like a big pool scene. Hill Dog loves a pool. So at the hotel before in San Pedro, there was like 7 different pools and there was barely anybody at any of them. So you basically get your own private pool each day, which was sick. This place had an absolutely gorgeous pool. Did you see it?
Yeah, attached to the side of your
The
room.
real. Oh, no. That's the private pool. This is the actual hotel pool.
Oh, I thought you guys were just hanging out in your room, which I thought that's insane.
Yeah, that's a crazy pool.
And Hill Dog loves pools.
She loves a pool and like just a pool hang, so we go and sit at the pool the next day and we have the whole place to ourselves. We're pretty tired at this point. Hill Dog is sort of accommodating me wanting to do shit. So like the first morning, these hikes, you got to meet at 7 or 8 a.m. and then you go for a few hours. We did this cactus hike, which was cool. It was like this little ravine in the desert. We did this moon hike thing where there was all these ancient petroglyphs. And then we went to see the flamingos in the desert, which is a thing I've only seen on like Nat Geo. It was like important for me. I was like really excited to see it. It was like a highlight for me. So we're kind of run down a little bit by the time we get to this place. So we actually drink a ton of wine and then we just slept in, which felt amazing. We don't leave the property at all. Everybody was going around, going to wine tastings, going to this, going to that. I was like, dude, we're not doing that. we agreed. I didn't dictate. We're done. I didn't tell Hillary what we're doing. We agreed we'll just chill. And we had a great day. We toured, like they showed us a little tour of the actual vineyard that we were already staying at. Amazing, amazing. And then the next day, we depart for Patagonia. So again, I tried to not do a ton of specific research about what the hotels would look like, etc. I know that Patagonia is sort of like the southern part of Chile and Argentina, but I didn't realize how far south we were going to be. We were far south, dude. But this is pretty much as close as you can get to Antarctica without being in Antarctica.
Yeah, almost touching tips.
Yeah. So the problem with this leg of the trip is that there is one direct flight from Santiago to Puerto Natales, which is where we were going. It departs at 8:30 a.m. We are 2.5 hours away from the airport. We need to check our luggage, and we also have to drop off the rental car. So we're like, we need to wake up preposterously early. It's
4.
I think we woke up at 4:30. I was like, this is gonna suck, but we just got to do it. We've done it before on other trips, like similar-ish things. So whatever, let's just wake up early enough. We may have even woken up at 4. I think 4:30. But so we get on the road, all good. There was all these random speed bumps that were coming out of nowhere. If you're driving from Santiago to Santa Cruz, look out for them. And the rental place opens at 7 a.m. So I was like, if we drop it off at 7 a.m., we'll have enough time for, and they're like, yeah, you'll be fine. I'm like, okay. We get there at 7 on the nose. I think we got there at 6:58. They open, whatever. By the time we actually are taking the shuttle to the airport, it's 7:10. But shout out to Hertz in Chile. It's unbelievable. Bro, they literally pick you up in like a car from the terminal and they WhatsApp with you. They're like, hey, I'm here. Like, it's the most chill thing ever. There's no shuttle and it's the same service on the way back. It was unbelievably easy. But by the time we're actually walking into the terminal, it is now 7:30 and the flight's going to board in like 15 minutes. So we go to drop off our bags and it doesn't work because we thought that we had paid for bags already, but we hadn't. So we now have to get into a different line. And so this is where an interesting scenario pops up where Hillary and I bickered a little bit about it. So this is what happened. A guy with a lanyard that I believe said Latam on it comes up to us and he's like, let me help you guys. Where are you going? We're like, okay. Starts punching the thing. Okay, this is for you. This is for you. We go and try to do it. It doesn't work. Then he comes up to the thing with us and there's a line. So if we wait in this line, dude, there's a chance we're starting to get into like, A, we might miss our flight territory, but B, it might not make it on the plane. Now I'm just comparing it to United States standards of like how early you have to be there. It's usually a little different everywhere you go. So there's a chance we're going to be completely fine, but I know that for sure. Mm-hmm. So this guy's helping us. He's like, you give me a tip, right? I'm like, yeah, of course. No problem. I know how this game works. And I'm like, I don't have any cash. I'm like, do you have cash? Not cute to not have cash as a guy, guys. But I just didn't have a chance to exchange money. I'm like staying at hotels, like they have a specific currency. I should have done it at the airport, whatever. I don't have cash. Hillary's like, all right, I'll run to the ATM. You just like deal with this guy. So the guy goes up to the thing. We cut the line, get our bags on, and when we don't get charged for our bags. Great. He then comes over to the ATM and like stands there while we're taking money out, which like started to annoy Hillary. It was annoying. She takes out whatever, $100, gives me 20. I give the guy 20. And the guy goes, oh. I'm like, is that not good enough? He's like, well, usually, it's like 20 per person. And Hillary's like, no. And I was like, yo, can we just... And then, like, she was, like, annoyed at me for doing that. And then we end up just giving the guy another 20. And then she's like, why did you do that? Why did you, like, undermine me? And I was like, oh, like, sorry. I, like, wasn't trying to. But... And it was just, like, such an annoying thing that happened. It just felt, like, a little yucky. That there's no way that we weren't going to both be annoyed about it. I think she ended up realizing where I was coming from with it. But I felt ashamed. I felt like I was a pussy or something and that I didn't like stick up for her. Like I felt really, really bad about myself in the moment. And I felt bad, even though I stand by what we did, because if we paid to check our bags, it would be $50. We skipped the line and we then made it to our gate as it was boarding. I'm like, we literally just paid a parallel service to like skip the line. It's not a big deal. It ended up not being a problem. We just bickered for 2 seconds, but sort of an interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I get that. I've done that before. I've done things where after making a decision on behalf of Victoria and I, she's like, why'd you do that? Or that was weird. And I feel bad too. But you move on. That's tough. The guy's standing right there and you're like it looks like, you want to make a decision. So I feel like making, whether you give him the extra $20 or you don't, you making a decision to give him the extra $20 is better than you standing there and being like, back to Hill Dog.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. Which is why I give myself a 2.8 out of 10.
yeah.
What do you give me?
How quickly, when she said no, did you say, no, let's give him the extra 20? And I'm assuming he's standing as close to you
Yeah.
as you were to her.
Yeah.
So a triangle.
As close
Equilateral
to
triangle
as
of
close to me
communication.
as you are to me, even if not closer to me.
Okay.
So this is the thing. First of all, the reason why I've scored myself so low, I should have had cash. Not hot. To not have cash. And secondly, I just sort of I wasn't super stern with the guy. To be honest, I thought it was fair. I thought it was fair to give him another 20. I didn't like that he was like, you know what I mean? Like these guys at the airport sometimes they start scoffing if you don't give them enough money. Like, bro, fuck off. You know what I mean? So I could have 100% told him take a hike, but whatever. I didn't, and I don't think that's hot either.
Yeah.
So
I think I'd give you a 4 because you made a decision and you didn't have to make Hill Dog make the decision, which is good. You get a 4 instead of a 5 because you handed him a 20. If you handed him a 10, I think he would have said typically people give me 20. So he just doubled whatever you handed over to him.
interesting.
So, but I also don't know how you would have been able to break the change. You only had 20s on you. He knew that because he's standing so close to Hill Dog pulling out the ATM. He probably also knows the ATM.
I should have also been when he said, give me a nice tip, I should have said how much.
That would have been a good thing to do. And then I guess the only thing, you'd stay at a 4 if you didn't talk too much about it after the fact. How long did you guys?
I didn't try to justify it.
Mm-hmm. Or you weren't I should have done
I didn't
this?
say I should have. I just sort of stood by my rationale, which I ultimately, I think, leaned toward.
You stood by it after the fact?
I stood by it. I wasn't I wasn't trying to act as if I was in control of the situation. I wasn't. But I did try to just sort of plead my case as to why, even though it worked out the way it did, that was ultimately a net positive.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty confident. That bumps back up to a 4.5.
I'll take it.
4.5 and not feeling good. It's better than a 0 and not feeling
Agreed.
good. That's pretty good.
Good glass half full kind of guy.
That's pretty solid, dude. That's it. That is exactly as you said, a yucky situation.
Agreed.
So,
Anyway,
but you got this. You got on the plane.
got on the plane, made it all good. 3.5 hour flight. Got some of this bullshit done on the computer. By the way, Bad Bunny album's amazing. In case you didn't already hear, it is just it's a crowd pleaser without pandering. It's just fun and awesome. All the experimentals are home run. All the experimental tracks are home runs. The vibes are elite, and anybody who's into it and who's listened to the album and who's been to his concert before knows how insane the tour is going to be this summer. He's doing a residency in Puerto Rico. I submitted for tickets. The first month is only Puerto Rico residents. Second month, anybody can go.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I didn't end up getting a link. But to be honest, Puerto Rico in August sounds a little rough. So hopefully he'll do a States tour as well, and I'll be able to get tickets to that. But anyway, dude, yeah.
Was that music video that you showed me right before you left, was that part of that album?
Yes.
Okay, so that was one of the singles.
That's one of the singles.
Nice.
I love that song. But yeah, dude, top to bottom, it's fucking amazing. And it's going to take a second for the dust to settle, but I would say, and some people are already being like, this is his best album. I don't think there's any way to even make a legitimate argument that it isn't in his top 3 albums. And with the last album, you could have made that argument. I mean, last album's a masterpiece. I absolutely loved it. But I get why some people like other ones more than it. But this is top 3 no matter what, in my opinion.
Would you say that there is an album by Bad Bunny that has been a flop so far compared to the rest?
No.
Okay.
There just isn't. The only, as far as any sort of discrepancy with downloads, it's because his earlier albums, it wasn't as popular.
Mm-hmm.
But every single album is, for me, a 10 out of 10. To be honest. El Último Tour del Mundo. That album has some misses on it for me. The good songs are iconic, unbelievable songs. It's an incredible album, and I absolutely love it. But for me, maybe it's not a 10 if I had to absolutely nitpick. But it has some of my favorite songs of all time on it. So but most of the other ones, top to bottom, every song, unbelievable. So anyway. And this one's no exceptions. It's an unbelievable.
All right, we're going to put a pin in the episode right there. Perfect place to take a break until Thursday because we just keep going. So stick around for part 2. Some really funny stories that we're going to share on Thursday from Giulio's trip. In the meantime, thanks for listening. Please follow me at Ryan is Really Polite, Giulio at Not Julio. Please email us at oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. Check out our clips. And also, check out Giulio's YouTube channel. He just dropped a video from his trip to Ecuador. It's absolutely stunning. So please check that out and subscribe to his YouTube channel. And we'll see you guys on Thursday for part 2.